Hi, everyone. Back again with a demo for exercise 1. I printed out my exercise sheet that is to be found in module 1 and also in your files. So you can print it out and hold it, or you can bring it up on your phone and hold it and follow the instructions as you do the exercise. So exercise 1, contour drawing of a hand, a contour line in Adobe Illustrator, an introduction to artboards and layers. You're going to be making 4 artboards and using 2 layers. So you're going to need the layers and brushes palette up. I'll be showing you how to do that, as well as the ones that I ordinarily use, and I'll be showing you that as well. So first of all, go to the bottom of your screen or to the start in if you're on a PC, and bring up the Adobe Illustrator program. So the icon for that is AI, and we're going to make, this is what comes up. You're going to need to make a new document. So say File New, and the options come up. We're going to name this Exercise 1 and your name. And bring it in as a letter-sized document. So let's make it portrait orientation, landscape orientation, sorry. So 11 inches wide, 8.5 high. And you're going to put in 4 artboards as per the instructions. And you don't need a bleed. Stay with the CMYK color. And again, the raster effects medium, as I showed in my introduction to Adobe Illustrator that you should have already watched. In more settings at the bottom, you should put vertical orientation, and it'll start with your first artboard on top and go to the 4th one at the bottom. Increase your spacing to 1 inch. Whatever you want is fine, but I like to have enough spacing between my artboards. And say create document. There they are. So now we're going to follow the instructions. You're going to go to the first artboard, which is the top one, and you're going to place your the photo called hand, and that is to be found in the first module and also in files. So it says hand for exercise 1, I think. The palettes that you should bring up are, I'll make myself a little bit bigger here, move myself down. The palettes that you should bring up and that I usually have up are color, swatches. We're not using gradients, so I'm going to put it back in. If you have some palettes that pop up that you're not using, I'm going to put stroke. I'm going to put it in tabs, so you just move it next to the words of the other palette, and you'll see it go into tabs when the tab turns blue. Then I said to bring up brushes and layers, or layers and brushes in that order. So you're going to need to have the layers palette, and I'm finding that in my palette dock, but if you don't have it open, you can go up to window and find it. So layers. For me, I use a lot of these palettes, so they're already in a dock to the right. I keep that to the right on my desktop screen. So, but if you bring up layers, it'll pop out. You can drag it out. You can make all the other palettes and tabs go back in with the little double arrow. And I'm going to push it until it turns blue into the bottom of my group that's open and available. I'm going to go to my brushes palette and bring it out also, pop it out, pull it out, and click on the word brushes and maybe put it into next to the layers in tab. I'm working on a laptop, so I need to conserve my space, my window space. And I also have the controls for Zoom right here, and you are probably seeing a photo of me, hopefully, to the right. Okay, so make a new document with 4 artboards. I already did that. Make 2 layers. Make sure that your document, document has 2 layers. So I'm going to go to my layers palette, and you see that it says layer 1 in the layers palette. Go down to the bottom of the layers palette, and there's a plus. So say, and click on it, and it'll bring up a second layer. Okay, so that means that we have for all of the artboards 2 layers that one could work on, that you can work on. Okay, now it says place the photo, hand for exercise 1, on the bottom layer. So we're working on the bottom layer, so you want to click on layer 1, and you're going to go to the first artboard, and you are going to place the photo hand. So say file, place. And go to the photo that you will find in your files or in module 1. And it says hand for exercise 1. Click on that. And I'm moving my little head here out of the way and say place. And your cursor, your little black cursor, selection tool will come in loaded. So you can either double click in your artboard, or you can pull the photo. So you can start at the top left hand and pull it across so that it fits. So you've done the first step. I want you to lock this photo. So in the layers palette, there's a little eye that makes the layer visible, not visible. And you want it visible right now because we want to be able to see that photo. You can also, with the arrows on the keyboard, bring it down, center it a bit. And now you're going to lock it. So next to the eye, there's another little box, and you can say lock. So now this layer is locked. Okay, so I'm working with a Wacom, and in Introduction to Illustrator, which you should have watched already, I showed you my Wacom tablet. Looks like this. It's a medium size, so it's fairly large. Next to my head, here's next to my head. You could be working on a small Wacom tablet, which costs half as much, or you can be working on the Huiyin tablet, which is only $50, the small version, or $100 for a version like this. So the 2 Wacom tablets that I suggested that you use are, one is called Wacom brand and the other is Huiyin brand. Okay, so I'm using my pen, and I'm going to go over to my tools and find the pencil tool. So the pencil tool is to be found under what they call the shape tool, the shaper tool, which is sort of a useless tool in my opinion, but it looks like a round circle with a pencil on it. So click on that, and as you hold down on a Mac, you'll see the pencil. On a PC. You should also be able to just click and bring up a cascading menu and bring up a pencil. And I want you to draw a line. And the line that you're going to be using is just a normal 5-point round. Now, at this point, you can go into the brushes palette and actually check out what kind of line you're making. So I'm just going to pick regular round. It's a basic tool. Basic, you could click on basic or a round brush. And now it's not letting me draw. Why would that be? Because in the layers palette, so go to your layers, you're drawing on a layer that's locked. That's what I was doing, so it won't let me draw. I want to be drawing on the second layer. So click on this layer 2. And now it'll let me draw a line. I want to make sure it says here 2-point stroke. So I think that's just so that you could see it better, that I made it a 2-point, my instructions. And you're going to be drawing a contour line around the hand. And you can also put in so there's a contour line. I also wanted you to put in the inside contours. In order to see what you're doing better, you can do Command 0, which is fit in window. And notice that the line that I made, because I was working so small, is very inaccurate. It's also too smooth. So since you're on the second layer, you can select that line with the black selection tool and delete it and start again. Notice that when it's bigger, it'll be easier to be more accurate. Also, double click on the pencil and you'll bring up its options. I showed you this in my introduction to Illustrator, but you want keep selected, close paths when ends are within, let's say, 5 pixels, and edit selected paths. Also, in this case, you probably want your line to be more accurate, less smooth. So bring it to maybe the first setting between accurate and the middle and say okay. And let's see if I like this better. So now I can be a little bit more accurate because the window or the artboard is bigger. And I'm literally tracing around the hand. I'm going a little quickly. You should go slower because I want to not make this demo too long, too lengthy. Okay, so now go up to the black selection tool to get it active and click away. And you'll see that you have the line there, but right now it's a white line. I should have brought the stroke up initially and made it black so that I could see what I was doing. Now it's black. You want your stroke up and your fill none. So my fill box I had made none by putting the red arrow, the red slash underneath. You find the red slash underneath, click on it, and the fill becomes none. But with the black box, empty box underneath with a black line kind of around it, that's the stroke box that I explained in my introduction to Illustrator. You want that to be black, and you want the number of points to be 2. So I also asked you to, with the pencil tool, put in some of the contours that you see inside. So this is fairly easy because Command Z, my outside disappeared because it's still selected and it thought that I didn't want it anymore. So before you start drawing, click away. The other way to get the selection tool up is to hold Command or Control on the PC, Command on the Mac, Control on the PC, hold it, and every tool that you're using will become the selection tool that you used last. So I want to hold Command and click away, and then my outside contour line will not be selected anymore. And you can start drawing the inside contour lines without losing the outside. So I'm going to quickly put some of these in. You can be more, notice that everyone I draw is still selected, but then when you start drawing a new one, now you draw slower. I'm drawing very quickly because, as I said, I don't want this to be too long. Luckily, it's my hand. I have a lot of wrinkles, so it's easy to put in some of these lines. Okay, so with yours, you'll have more lines, maybe some on the fingers as well. Okay, so now I'm going to zoom out by going down to the zoom tool. And if you hold Option, the zoom becomes negative instead of positive. So you're zooming out instead of in. You can also go to the zoom tool and move it to the left or move it to the right. So if I move it to the left, I'm going to see the artboards. And what I want you to do now is go to the layer. You don't have to unlock it. Go to the bottom layer and take out the visibility. So you click on the eye. All right. So now I'm going to go again to my black selection tool. You can even move your tools over if you, black selection tool. And I'm going to draw a cursor or a bounding box or a selection box, a marquee around this whole hand that I drew, the lines. And I'm going to go up to Object menu. And I'm using my mouse simultaneously as my drawing pen on the tablet. The mouse is quicker for me when I have to navigate around the, I'm going to close my window here so you can hear me. Okay, back again. So I drew a marquee around the hand that I drew, and then I go up to Object menu and Group. And now all of these lines are grouped together. Why would one do that? Because these little lines could easily, as you try to select them and move this whole drawing, would be left behind or become disoriented to your other lines. So you want to go up to Object menu and Group. You can always ungroup it later if you wanted to. Notice there's an ungroup command also. Now I'm going to do Command C, which is copy. It's also a command that's found in Edit, but you're going to say Command. I'm using my right bar to move up and down. You can also scroll up and down in the artboards. And I'm going to say, go click with the black selection tool on the second artboard and say Command V. And let's see, click on this first one and say Command C. And now click on the second one and say Command V. And you'll have to, it comes in with a bounding box, but click on one of the hand itself, the line of the hand itself, bring it in, and do that all the way down so that you'll have so option. The other way that you can duplicate, instead of clicking on the artboard, you can keep saying Command V, or you can go to one of your drawings, click on it, you'll see that it comes up with a bounding box, it's grouped, and hold Option. This is the quickest way to duplicate something, is to hold Option or Alt on the PC. So Alt on the PC is the same as Option on the Mac. So Alt on the PC, Option on the Mac, and drag. And I'm dragging that same drawing among artboards. Make sure that you have the whole drawing up. And now what I'd like you to do is apply 3 different brushes to the hand drawing to show you what the brushes are like in Illustrator. So there's my brushes palette. I'm pulling down. The brushes that are available to you are these. These are the normal round brushes on the top of the brushes palette. These are the calligraphic brushes, second over. All of these are calligraphic group. These are art brushes, and those are the ones that I'd like you to experiment with. And these are bristle brushes. You can put any that you like on these on this hand drawing, just so that I see that you can apply a brush, that you know how to apply a brush, but I'd also like you to experiment. The ones that I think you'll be using the most in this course are the art brushes. So you can go to the bottom of the brushes palette, click on the brush libraries menu on the very left side at the bottom corner of the brushes palette. And you'll see that it brings up all of these different brushes. You can try some, you can even make more artboards if you want and hand that in. So I'm gonna say artistic. I'd like you to go to the artistic brushes, and you'll see that calligraphic, chalk, charcoal, pencil, ink, paintbrush, scroll pen, watercolor come up. So you could go to, for instance, if you wanted any one of these, but chalk, charcoal, pencil, and it brings up a brush library. I'm going to pull down on that brush library. And as I click on a brush, it pops it into the brush, the active brushes palette, so that you can use it later. Close this one. Maybe I'll try a calligraphic brush. So you can either go to the drop-down menu, or you can go to the brush libraries, and you want to say artistic calligraphic. Brings up the calligraphic brushes, and you can put some of these into your brushes palette. By clicking on them, they become active in the brushes palette. Okay, so I'm going to close this little library, and now as I click in the artboards on the hand drawing that I did, I can apply brushes. So it's still 2-point because that's what I drew with. So you're going to see the brushes being applied, the ones that I brought up, and you can, so just move down among your artboards and apply the brushes that you have in your active brushes palette. Notice that the calligraphic brushes that I clicked on were put into a different place in the brushes palette. So they are all grouped according, they're put into the brushes palette according to, you know, which category of brush they are. And then when you're finished doing this, this is it, this is my exercise. I have my bottom layer turned off, but go into your layers and turn on the bottom layer so that when you save it as a PDF, I'll be able to see that you placed the hand on your top layer. And then you're going to say, File, Save As. And you can save this first as an Illustrator document. It's saving it for me into exercise 1 folder that I had made. So you should just save it to your desktop, and then you'll be handing it in under assignments, exercise 1 and assignments. So go say File, Save As, and you're going to save it as an AI file. So say Save. And then also you're going to save. So it brings up Illustrator, your Illustrator options. And I want you to say create PDF, a compatible file. You can leave all these defaults. Don't save each artboard as a separate file. Just use the default. All of these are okay. And say, okay, and I'll save it as an Illustrator file. And now I want you to also save as a PDF. So when you save it as a PDF, make sure that you change your format at the bottom of the Illustrator dialog box, the save box, save as box. And then when you say save, it'll come up with these options. So I want you to make sure that the create Acrobat layers from top level layers, the bottom option is checked. So make sure that that bottom layer is checked. You don't need to optimize for fast web preview or web. You don't need view PDF after saving. You do need preserve Illustrator editing capabilities always so that you can bring your PDF back into Illustrator and edit it. It's nice to have the page thumbnails. And the most important command that I want you to always make sure is checked is create Acrobat layers from top level layers. Because when you hand in things, I generally want you to hand them in as PDFs. So save PDF. And now when I close this document, and I can go back and look at my PDF here. So I saved it as exercise 1 and my name, and I will bring it into my Acrobat program and take a look at it. It'll come up. And now if you look at what I'm going to be seeing, I should be able to see what you did as Acrobat pages. And in the first layer, I see that you placed the hand and then you drew a line, some contour lines. And that is the exercise. For this exercise, why don't you hand in the Illustrator and the PDF files? So there's an AI file and a PDF file. But if you just hand in the PDF and it's done correctly, I should be able to see it. For the rest of the projects in this course, you will be handing in PDFs, but make sure that when you open them, I can see all of your layers. In Acrobat, the layers is to be found to the left, and they look like little stacks of paper. So I should be able to see layer 1 and layer 2, layer 1 and layer 2. And you can check when you hand things in that you have your layers by going to that little stack. If you didn't save with layers, the little stack of paper, so to speak here, the icon for layers in your PDF will not be there. Thank you.